It is truly a joy to welcome our guest speaker here to our church this morning, Jessica Clay. Jessica is nearing the end of her studies at our Unitarian Universalist Seminary at Starr King in Berkeley, California. And she left the Bay Area just to be with us this morning. And also to visit her parents and grandmother. But she would have come here even if her parent wasn't here. So she's a little familiar with Salt Lake. In fact, a period of time, actually went to Judge Memorial, where all good Unitarian ministers go for training at Judge Memorial. Jessica is amazingly well rebounded, having just come back from Turkey, where she and her classmates had gone through a series of learning about Rumi, and it was a great experience for her. And she's almost back in the Salt Lake time zone, but she's great. This is a career change. The ministry is a career change for Jessica. She is an occupational therapist and then got the call, but we'll hear a little bit more about that later on. So right now, also very important, Jessica is the student body president at Starr King, and so I would like to say, welcome, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here to preach this morning. I'm honored. Ironically enough, or maybe not ironically, I used to walk by this church on the way to my first job at the Friendship Manor right next door, which Reverend Tom told me this church is one of the founding churches that developed it in '67, I believe. So amazing how my world has come full circle, and I'm honored to be speaking here today with you. Our reading this morning is For the Interim Time by John O'Donohue. I picked this reading thinking about New Year's and thinking about the current climate in the U.S. since the events in Ferguson this past summer. When near the end of day, life has drained out of light, and it is too soon for the mind of night to have darkened things. No place looks like itself. Loss of outline makes everything look strangely in between, unsure of what has been or what might come. In this wan light, even trees seem groundless. In a while, it will be night, but nothing here seems to believe the relief of darkness. You are in this time of interim, where everything seems withheld. The path you took to get here has washed out. The way forward is still concealed from you. The old is not old enough to have died away. The new is still too young to be born. You cannot lay claim to anything in this place of dusk. Your eyes are blurred and there is no mirror. Everyone else has lost sight of your heart, and you can see nowhere to put your trust. You know you have to make your own way through. As far as you can, hold your confidence. Do not allow confusion to squander this call, which is loosening your roots in false ground, that you might come free from all you have outgrown. What is being transfigured here in your mind, and it is difficult and slow to become new. The more faithfully you can endure here, the more refined your heart will become for your arrival in the new dawn. For many Catholics, Christmas Eve Mass is a tradition, one in which the family gets dressed up and attends together. A way of marking the birth of a person who advocated radical love, acceptance, and nonviolence. Coming together to sing, pray, and mark the transition between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. For some of these parishioners this year, while walking up the steps of the cathedral, they had to walk past police dressed in riot gear, with helmets, large plastic shields, and batons. The scene is the steps of the Cathedral Basilica in St. Louis, Missouri, with the news of the police shooting of another black man, Antonio Martin, in neighboring Berkeley, Missouri. Protesters took to the streets, praying, singing, and standing up. I saw a picture on the news of the police in their riot gear, with people walking into the church behind them, and I imagined myself in that scene. As I reflect on this scene, on these two groups of people, I can't help but wonder what the people inside thought about what was happening outside. Did some of them want to join them? If Jesus was alive, would he be sitting in the pews, or would he be standing with the protesters? I think about the officers. Some of them may have been wishing they were inside the church. Some of them may have been wishing they were standing with the protesters. And I'm sure some of them were wishing they were at home with their families, not standing there against people who are tired of remaining silent. These times that we find ourselves in as we transition from 2014 to 2015 are marked with great tragedy and change. Typically, when speaking of times of great change, we often mark the time by before and after. It's as if our life takes an unexpected route and pauses in a doorway right at the threshold. Often we didn't see it coming. Prior to the event, our path seemed clear. The doorway itself is the interim time John O'Donohue spoke of in his poem from this morning. He said, "You are in this time of the interim, where everything seems withheld. The path you took to get here has washed out. The way forward is still concealed from you." When I saw the picture from Christmas Eve Mass in St. Louis, I had a threshold moment. Thinking of my walk down 13th East towards this church on Christmas Eve, no protesters in sight, the cold winter air blowing against my cheeks, and smiling faces upon my entry. What a different experience it was. A threshold that was a shift in perspective. Another word to describe this occurrence is liminal space. It's the space in between. The etymology of the word liminal in Latin is limen, which means doorway or threshold. It's when we're going along about our business and all of a sudden realize how little control we have. We are thrust out of our comfort zone into the unknowing. Sometimes you can see it coming, and other times it just arrives unannounced, like a visitor you didn't expect who invites themselves in and expects a cup of tea, and you're there standing empty-handed in your kitchen, wondering what to do. The ancient Roman god Janus was the god of beginnings and transitions. The poet Ovid wrote that Janus originated out of chaos, and once the world was created and he was deified, he became the god who presided over beginnings. It is he who the month of January is named after. In ancient Rome, his temple was closed during times of peace and open during times of war. He was typically depicted with two faces, one looking forward and one looking behind. Standing in the threshold of liminality, we are often looking forward and back, all at the same time, thrust into chaos and looking for peace as we journey through the transitions. It looks and feels different for each person. It's not just national events such as Ferguson, it is personal, individual events as well. For the high school student beginning their senior year, it's acutely felt when well-meaning friends and family ask, "What are your plans after graduation?" It's the mother during the 9 months of a pregnancy, waiting, wondering if the baby will be healthy, happy, and hopefully sleep. It's when a lump is first felt and the time that occupies how long it takes to make an appointment and to get the test results. In those liminal spaces, often well-meaning friends and family just want to help, to offer advice or encouragement. Yet with each piece of advice, it's urging the person on through the threshold. The only thing that can move one through that space is time. Allowing time to unfold and being present with it can often feel insurmountable. For me, liminality is a constant companion in my life. When I graduated from occupational therapy school in 2008, I thought I was leaving a period of liminality behind. I was ready to take on the career I had studied so hard for, and ready to let it make up so much of my identity. Yet through years of working and realizing it wasn't what I was meant to do, I felt great loss. I struggled with my call to ministry. I was very active in my home congregation at the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica, and was very surprised one day when a congregant approached me and asked me if I had ever considered ministry. I brushed it off very quickly and said no. After an initial no, I slowly peeked at the possibility of it. Yet I was plagued with feelings of self-doubt. Will I be good enough? Will I say something that people want to hear? I had visions of Mother Teresa in my head. To me, if I was to become a minister, it would have to be on the scale of Mother Teresa or Martin Luther King Jr. But as I stood in the doorway once again, or maybe realized I had never really left it, I found myself seeing that I just had to be me, not the Mother Teresa version, just me. So here I am in this liminal space of school once again, looking back to the past towards occupational therapy and all of the things that brought me here to this moment, and forward to the future towards being a minister. Yet often, if I am open and aware, moments of grace will catch me and say, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. Recently, I had one of these moments at San Quentin Prison, where I volunteered last spring teaching a course based on emotional literacy. As I sat in the room with 11 men opening their hearts and engaging in truth-telling, I knew this is exactly where you're supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. These moments of grace can often catch us here at church. As Unitarian Universalists in community with each other, liminality is here in this space. We come through these doors, come to this place, settle into these seats, and sit for an hour, maybe more. Not more today, I promise. We know it's okay to question and to trust that we can ask questions together. Our doors are not closed like the Temple of Janus in times of peace and only open during war. They are open for all of us in all of our transitions as we love, live, and mourn together. As we come together to worship and exit these doors to stand up for a just, equitable world. Connections are made over coffee and conversation and over serving together to help this community to thrive. The greatest gift we can give each other is to be an active listener, to just listen, to let silence sit if it needs to, and not to rush someone through a doorway. It is human nature to say, "How are you?" and just expect the standard reply back, "I'm fine." But what if someone really answers and says, "I am not well. I am sad. I am mad. I am unsure. I am thinking about all those school children in Pakistan. I am thinking of the parents and children of all the people of color killed by the police in this country in the last year, and my heart is broken." Sometimes anxiety can be triggered in the listener, anxiety around tolerating each other's discomfort. Knowing how to respond from a place of grace, love, and empathy is an art. But each time we try our best and be gentle with ourselves when we could have done better, this is what it means to be in community. to have these sacred moments with another, just being ourselves. In the Jewish mourning practices, when someone is in mourning, members of the community do not ask how the person is feeling until 12 months after the death of a loved one. They provide comfort and caring, yet they give the mourner space to breathe and process their grief. They allow the unfolding of liminal space. To be in community together, feeling the interconnectedness between the people surrounding you, is to sit in these spaces together. Physical space of this church, emotional spaces of standing on a threshold. Yet these thresholds can be very messy. Often when in them, we are not our best version of ourselves. We are just ourselves. The range of liminal life experiences are as vast as the oceans. In this space, letting go of control and needing the experience to be like you thought it was is key. Moments of liminality are everyday moments as well, ones that may not be marked by huge life moments, but the moments that mark them are poignant and transformative. Recently, I was walking my dogs in my neighborhood, and I came across a classmate of mine who is a single mother of 2 elementary school children. She was running down the street with a bag of laundry in her hand, and I stopped to check in and see how she was doing. And I said, "How are you?" And she said, "I'm a little bit overworked right now." And she said, "Today I'm hoping to take the kids to the beach, because in Berkeley you can take the kids to the beach in December, unlike Salt Lake City." And she said, "But the hardest thing is going to be getting them to leave the house to actually go to the beach. And once we're at the beach, the hardest part will be getting them to leave the beach to come home." She said, "I swear, parenting happens in the transitions. Life happens in the transitions. Sharing these transitions is why we're here, to share our lives together, to enter into each other's stories and transform each other and the world with our message of love, acceptance, and inclusion. When we stand in a doorway with one another and let them stand there or sit or cry as long as they need to, we are connecting to the divine in each other. Love, when expressed, has the power to hold, to heal, and to hear each other into this space. The greater we are able to tolerate this uncomfortable space for another will extend around the world back to ourselves. The space between us is holy. The time of threshold can be a great spiritual experience, connecting us to the divine and to each other. When we come to church and connect with the divine around us and in each other, we are then able to do the real holy work, the work of transforming the world, to show up and fight for each other and our planet, to stand next to the protesters, to be grounded in the work that is so important as we move forward into this year, to know that we are at a crucial point in a crucial doorway of liminality, and that our voices and our presence is needed. May we move forward from this place, allowing ourselves and each other to stand in those doorways, in those thresholds, but know that we are not standing alone. As Unitarian Universalists, we stand together, and together with people of all faiths, knowing that our interconnectedness and interdependence is the anchor in liminality. Now is the time for us to rise up, to lift every voice and sing for peace and justice, to be the people of faith that attend Christmas Eve services and stand up at protests and the ballot box because Black Lives Matter. So that when we are in those spaces together, when someone needs you to sit with them in their pain, or you need someone to sit with in your pain, you may find each other. May it be so.